Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Got a great show for you today. We were trying to get him on earlier, and he had a couple of setbacks, but Patric Young's going to join us today, and I'm excited about it. He's a good friend, and what he's been through, as everybody knows, pretty much the story now, with it being paralyzed right now. And we pray for him to do well. And I think he understands it, how many people love him and care about him. And that would include me. One of my favorite people ever. So I can't wait to talk to him. We'll get to all of our other stuff too at the end of the, we'll do a yes, no, where, maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. And of course, he'll come to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line as well. And then obviously on Monday, Coach Spurrier will be back. Still working on a Thursday guest. But you never know. One can drop into your lap. But I got a couple of people in mind. I do want to talk to some people about college football. So that probably will be where I go on next Thursday. All right. Let us get to the Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you, of course, by Scott Hart and the Process Service of Gainesville. Appreciate him as being one of our main sponsors. Let's start off with number one on the Process Service of Gainesville starting five, and that is what Jack Caglione did Tuesday night. I have this running gag with my wife, and so he'll hit a homer, and I will come out from my office, and she's watching something else, and I'll say, "Look outside, look outside," and she'll go, "What?" And I'll go, "No, look outside. Oh, there it goes. The ball that Caglione just hit." Well, the one he hit on Tuesday night, according to the measurements, 516 feet. Only Jack Caglione could take away from a two-homer night by Tyler Shelnut, which he did, because it's all anybody was talking about. The guy is incredible. And and I think Jeff has said this on radio, he said it on the broadcast. You only have 9 more chances to see him in Gainesville. 9 more. That's it. He's gone. I mean, obviously, he is not coming back for a senior year. He could be the number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft. So, but you're seeing something incredible. 7 straight games with homers, and none of them have been, I don't think that one's going to get out. It's always, oh my, how far did that go? So he's putting on a show. He was very kind to sign a batting helmet for our golf tournament, the Bob Dooley Invitational too. So I think once he signed that, I think he really kind of cut loose, because he had only hit homers in 6 straight games before. We'll see what he can do up in Nashville starting today. But I would guess they'll pitch around him. But man, what we're seeing is pretty incredible. And Florida did win again, so that's 2 in a row. And right now, that's a winning streak. We'll see what they can do. Look, the schedule gets really tough, and you got to go to Vandy, then go to Arkansas. You've also got Stetson in there, who's already beaten you in the middle of this the rest of the season, and then you got to finish at Georgia, which has been playing incredible ball. It'd be a matchup of the 2 MVP candidates, if you ask me, Cags and the kid from Georgia, the third baseman. Is it Condon or Condon? Anyway, he's really good. He's leading the league in homers. Not Jack Caglione. This guy is. So I don't know much about him. I watched him play like once, maybe for a little while. But anyway. All right, so that is number 1 on our Process Service of Gainesville starting five. Let's get to number 2, which is Florida announced. They came out a little bit scattered, but they finally announced their Hall of Fame. And because I know a lot of people on the committee, and I've talked to many people on the committee, I do know that they are hamstrung a little bit. I think their criteria should change a little bit, but I don't think they've ever put anyone in that didn't deserve to be in. I wish they could put more people in, and it's going to get crazy coming up, because as we go through these softball players, one after another, they are deserving. Swimmers, one after another, they are deserving. And what happens is a lot of times you can only get one football player on the ballot, and that's just the way it works. Some people won't like it, but it's the way it works. And Chaz Henry is the football representative. And my first reaction was, is there really a guy named Chase Henry who played for Florida maybe back in the 20s and they're honoring him? Because that's the way Florida released it. Just to let you know. It was Chase Henry. In fact, in like multiple areas, they had it out as that. But of course, we figured it was Chaz. And my second reaction was, really? He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? And then I start thinking about it, I go, I guess maybe it's because he really wasn't a kicker, a field goal kicker, but he kicked one of the biggest field goals. I don't want to say one of the biggest in Florida history, but it was a big field goal at the moment when he beat Georgia in overtime, and Todd Grantham was telling him he was going to F and choke and grabbing his neck, which was a classless thing to do. But you kind of forget what a great punter he was. He was an All-American. He won the Ray Guy Award. So yes, he deserves to be in. And my first reaction was he doesn't. And I think that's a little shaky. My second reaction is, yeah, he definitely deserves to be in. Also, Preston Tucker certainly deserved to get in. Scotty Wilbekin deserves to get in. We'll talk a little bit later with Patric Young about that, him getting in. Patric Young needs to be in too, personally. But I think they take way too much. This is my opinion. Way too much emphasis on whether you make All-American or All-Conference or Player of the Year. And that's a big deal. That is a big deal. Like Chandler Parsons, like Scotty, Player of the Year in the SEC. That's a big deal. But if you don't get any of those awards, you kind of get lost. Like I was really pushing with several people on the committee I know, Andrew Moten. And Andrew, but he never made any of those award lists. But you can't tell me Andrew Moten is not worthy of being on the Ring of Honor. Not Ring of Honor, but the Hall of Fame. Anyway, that's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Also, Francesca Anea went in, which is certainly deserving. Elizabeth Beisel, tremendous swimmer. Anyway, so that was announced. Hannah Rogers, I think, went in too. So I think there were 2 softball players. Yeah. So they've got to. That's one thing. They may have to double up a little bit on that. So football and basketball can kind of get. But I have my opinions on it. Nobody's really asked me, and never will. All right, number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. This was a story that kind of blew me away because I didn't really know what was going on until like 2 days ago, and I think we talked about it at one point. But now we know exactly what it is. And that is Jonte Porter, I'm sorry. Jonte Porter, who played at Missouri. So he was in the SEC. I'm trying to remember, there were twins, and they were both pretty good. I think one of them played most of the year, but one of them only played in the SEC tournament. I think that was Jonte. I could have looked it up, but I didn't want to be honest with you. Anyway, he's banned for life from the NBA for betting, doing these prop bets, and he was given information to gamblers. This is the ultimate, like Adam Silver said, the cardinal sin. You can't do this. You are not allowed to. Not only are you not supposed to be gambling on your teams or prop bets or anything like that, but certainly you cannot gamble and give people information. Hey, this guy's not playing, or hey, this guy's hamstrings hurt. This is why this is a slippery slope that all major sports are on right now with gambling and the issues that they have with it, and with, just telling your players, you can talk to them all you want about it, but then it's just thrown at them. It's shoved down their throat. Gambling. There's shows on ESPN, multiple shows every day about gambling. It's great. It's the greatest thing in the world. Here's a prop bet you can make and make a lot of money. It doesn't excuse it. It's still wrong, but it is a slippery slope. You have to admit that. All right, let's get to number 4 on the process service starting 5. And that is something I wrote. Dooley's does, and I write these a lot for Gators Wire, and I really take a lot of pride in them, coming up with good ideas and then executing them. You may not have read them, but all you have to do is go to gatorswire.com and you can find any of those. But the one I did it came out on Wednesday. I was really proud of because it was somebody else's idea that I took and made it a little bit better. I'm not going to tell you whose idea it was. And that is how Florida's schedule this year is not as hard as last year's. Everybody's going, oh, but that schedule. Okay. Well, you just go down line by line on the 12 games, and you're going to find out more games are about Florida's schedule being easier this year than they were. Like, I'll give you two examples of this, okay? Opening game, who would you rather play? At Utah, and also you got to leave a day early because there's a hurricane bearing down on Gainesville. Didn't really hit us that hard, but it was windy and it was watery. But so that would you rather do that or Miami at home? To me, it's a no-brainer, right? All right. Would you rather play at LSU with the Heisman Trophy winner as quarterback or LSU at home with Garrett Nussmeier as quarterback? No offense to him. He ain't Jaden Daniels. We all know that. So, I mean, you can do that and go down to it. Now, there are games where you go, no, that goes the other way. And I did it, I think, objectively, and I had it as 6-4-2. 6 games that were easier, 4 games that were harder, 2 games that were washes. So I don't want to hear any more about the schedule, guys. Schedule's hard. Everybody's hard. It's the SEC. It's easier than last year, according to me. Now, I will say this. Halfway through the season, I may go, man, that schedule ended up being harder than I thought. But look, like, for example, I can't remember. I have this in the car somewhere. Game, I think it's week 4. You either play. Last year you had to play Kentucky, and this year you get UCF. Something like I think that's one of the weeks. So I mean, I'm just saying, if you look at it objectively, it's an easier schedule. But you can go read that at gatorswire.com and all the stuff I do for them. I write for them a lot, so I love doing it. They treat me really well over there, and I appreciate them. I appreciate my editor Adam as well, as I appreciate my editor Arnold Feliciano, who's now taken over editing all my stuff for WRUF.com. So the people who come up to me and say, again, and they're being nice when they say it, we really miss you. And I go, yeah, you missed the convenience of me. I know that. But you can read me. It's still all out there. The back nines on WRUF.com, grading the Gators on WRUF.com, all these stories I'm doing for Gators Wire, stories I do for the alumni newsletter. I'm still out there, man. I'm still standing. Yeah. Yeah, because look, I got out at the right time, and I'm glad I did, believe me. But I'm still staying busy for a while, a couple of years at least. I hope I'm around for a couple of years. All right, let's finally wrap it up on our process service of Gainesville starting 5 with the basketball last night. I got to confess, I did watch a lot of the first game last night, which was the Miami-Philly game. That was an interesting game. And then I started to watch the Bulls game, and I'm like, Pat, you're not making it till the end of this game at 2 in the morning. You're just not. You're tired. You want to go to bed. And I did. So I did, but I got up this morning to the good news that Billy Donovan won again, and will now be playing Miami in it's a rematch, and it's an elimination game. Loser goes home, winner moves on and continues. And the other thing is Jimmy Butler has a sprained is it MCL? Yeah, MCL. So who knows how effective he's going to be on I think that game's on Friday, right? Yeah, Friday. And we'll get to that. We'll get to the games of the weekend in a little bit. And we'll also, that is going to be our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. So that game is relevant as well. So, all right, that is going to do it for our process service of Gainesville starting 5. Appreciate Scott Hart. I appreciate all of our great sponsors. We'll be back with the great Patric Young, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. And we'll also do a little yes, no, where, or maybe with him when we come back on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studio.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8 TR at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. What a pleasure it is to bring on what I consider a good friend, and I hope he does too, and that is Patric Young. Of course, you guys all know him from his days playing Gator basketball, and I know he's been through a terrible issue he's dealing with every day. Patric, I hope you're feeling better. I know you had a lot of time in the hospital with an infection and stuff and dealing with that. I hope you understand how much everybody is praying and thinking about you.
Yeah, no, and that's a huge thing. You know, I'm so grateful for, being in my worst in my life, worst time, that there's so many people that were reaching out, you included, and staying connected. And I just knew I was, it helped me because a lot of times when you're in the hospital and you're either with strangers or you're alone, you just kind of can take your mind to a dark place, and just only be thinking about the negative. And I'm glad that was, months ago now. I was in the hospital from May 30th to October 4th of last year, which was a pretty long time, significant time. And yeah, man, that was not fun. That was not fun. I don't recommend anyone ever doing something like that.
No, and it's funny because I had some reason didn't get Patric's new number, and I kept reaching out to him, and I wasn't getting any response. And we had lunch the other day, and he said, when you're in the hospital and you've been through what I'm not worried about you, Pat. I'm worried about getting better and all those kind of things. So you weren't that high up on my priority list. You're up there on it, but not that high on it. I certainly understand that. I do want to talk to you about the book you've written, Rise, Sit to Rise.
Yeah.
I read all of it. I can tell you it's really well done, and that's coming from a guy who's written 3 books. Okay, so
that's right. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But it's really good. I'd forgotten until I was reading it that your dad played for the Jacksonville Bulls, who I covered when they were Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I covered you and your dad.
That's awesome. I think he was with the Tampa Bay Bandits for a little bit before he came up back to Jacksonville. And I want to say Coughlin, I think Coughlin coached him, or I can't remember if it was Coughlin or Spurrier. One of those two. I think one of the two cut him, was the last coach that cut him from his playing career too, or something like that. Yeah. He had an opportunity to go out and try out for the Green Bay Packers, but I think he had my sister was already born, and he had been banged up so much from football. I'm sure it had to be tough for him to walk away because that's an opportunity. Like, you don't know what could have happened. Would life be different? Yeah, life would be different. But would it be better? We don't know that. Would I be here? I don't know if I'd be here if he would have went up and gotten that job. So hopefully he's happy about that now.
Yep. Well, the title of this book obviously satirizes turning your darkest pain into your brightest victory. And your attitude and everything you've done since this happened has been just incredible. I am one of those people who would be feeling sorry for himself, and you have been able to overcome that. And not only through this book, and you know what, one thing, and in fact, I'm going to advise people to get this, and Patrick will tell you you can get it.
Amazon, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, Amazon. And I know that. In fact, I'm going to order a few more books because I got 10 from you when I got them, and I've given most of them out. And what it's great for is when you go to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. I want you to read this book." And in fact, I gave one to JC Deacon and one to somebody who helped us in our house. And they really.
I honestly think giving a book is one of the, you can give people certain things, but you're passing on knowledge. You're passing on something that impacted you that you think will impact. Like it just means so much more when someone gives me a book to read, because they are like, no, man, like this book is gonna, help you overcome, or something that you can relate to. It's gonna do something that, just watching videos or, you're not going to come to a revelation without some type of intervention. And when someone that loves you, wants to share a book with you or knows you, it's coming from a great place.
Yeah, speaking of great places, I know that our friend Scotty Wilbekin went into the.
Yeah, I text him today. I don't know if you heard those dings. He's texting me back. I text him congratulations, and I agree with him. He said it would have been better for it to be an induction where Scotty, Will, Casey, and I all going in at the same time.
Totally agree.
I don't know how that stuff gets decided. Maybe it's because it makes too much sense, Pat. That's why it didn't happen.
Yeah, making sense has never been part of the equation with Hall of Fames, but I can tell you how it works, because there's so many great athletes who come through here. You knew that better than anybody. You saw it every day. And great tennis, great swimming, and they don't want to leave anybody out. So I eventually I would hope that they would put you in for example.
I hope, yeah. But I just think 10 years since the last Final Four, it just seems like it would have made. Have they already put Joe Kim, Corey, Al, Torian? So yeah, T Green got in this year himself.
Yeah, all went in separately though. So I think it'll eventually come. I'm pushing for it, and I was pushing for Andrew Moten, and they can't get him in. So that should tell you how weird it is.
That's so interesting that T Green was so late.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they waited until he got hired by Todd Golf.
Right. So he's more like, you see him on the sideline and you're like, oh man, that's Torian Green. Didn't he do like great? Yeah, he won 2 national championships here.
Yeah. Pretty good. He did pretty good. That team though was such a special team because it wasn't a lot of NBA guys. It was
right.
Even Scotty, I don't know. Did Scotty ever even get a sniff with the NBA?
He did. And he made it to the final cut with the Sixers. And I mean, they should have took him on. And honestly, like he's doing well for himself. He like the NBA could still be on his horizon. Because he's just that good. Like now he's only gotten better. I hate that a lot of people haven't had a chance to see him play because he shoots it so well. He's actually on the same team as Nick Lathis.
Really?
Nick Lathis, and then Nigel Hayes. Remember him at Wisconsin?
Yeah,
we ended. Chris Chioza ended his career at up that way. And no, man, Scotty should have. I mean, honestly, healthy in the right situation, I think Scotty, Casey, and I could have had and should have had longer stints. I was with the team that I was with New Orleans when Monty Williams was there and the team was terrible. So I was the easiest, guy to get off the team and to try and for them to, Coach Monty Williams to try and save his job. Great man, by the way. Feel so terrible for him that he's with the pit. He's going down almost in infamy for having the losing streak of the worst losing streak of all time.
It was record breaking. There's no doubt about it. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask you about Coach Donovan and what you see when you watch his games, and how hard was it, first of all, to get him to write your foreword for your book?
It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Christine Donovan, she's the anchor. Obviously, she understands his schedule and what he can and can't do and commit to, and they've obviously been together his whole since the beginning of his coaching career and beyond. And she read through the transcripts, and then she was the final approver when he sat down and he wrote the foreword, the final approver of that. And I mean, it's remarkable being able to read, because I alluded to it in the book, like, as much as Coach Donovan liked me and I liked him in the beginning, we had a rocky relationship when it came to him coaching me, and I'm glad that we were able to work that out and be able to do and achieve the things that we did. And even now to this day, he and I have a great relationship. And when he's in the off season, I try to go up to Crescent City and St. Augustine to see him and his family. And it's always a great time. I mean, it's seeing Coach Donovan when he's not in coach mode is great. Oh man, it's the best. It's the best. He that laugh, he picks on everybody. He picks on everybody.
Me.
Oh my goodness, he gets his sister so good.
Well, it is interesting that you talk about Billy, because I was talking to Matt McCall the other day, and they were trying to arrange a golf trip to Ireland, and I'm like, oh, I thought he was taking the Kentucky job. What are you talking about? But thank goodness that never. And again, Billy better than I do. I don't think Billy wants to coach college basketball anymore. I think
I don't think, for one, if he were to ever come back to college basketball, I don't think he would come to the SEC. Reason being, it's like, how would it look to be Coach Donovan coaching in some SEC team and then going to Gainesville playing on Billy Donovan court?
Exactly.
That's the weirdest thing.
They might have to white it out if he did that.
I know, right? Just for the sake of the moment, I don't know, but yeah, I didn't think there was any, because Coach Donovan has always had a clean record. He's always been a man that wants to do things with whatever the limitations and the rules allow. He's going to stay within those things. He was not that he wasn't against players getting paid, but he wasn't going to be doing anything illegal that would affect his recruiting and his legacy. And now it's like, because he'll tell you, he's had stories of players that have come to the program on visits and like, all right, coach, like, I want to play for you. Like, all right, what are we going to do? What's up with got something for me under the table? And he's like, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
We don't, a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them like, no, I did not receive a single dollar. Like, I may have gotten like going to a tailgate during the season and someone gave me some food that they cooked, and like, come on, like, is that really something worth in any sort of comparison as someone that's getting hundreds of $1,000s under the table to go to a tailgate, take some pictures with someone, they gave you some food, they love you, they want to talk hoop, and then you go about your way. Like, that's it. It's like a one-time interaction. But yeah, there's no tailgate. He's an NBA guy, man. He's an NBA guy now.
Yeah. You've been to our tailgate, so I know that. And so
yeah. Oh yeah, I have.
We have fed you too.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you also about the SEC network and how good they've been. for you, and having you come back there, and you and I talked about you wanted to get out of that chair and just be out there in your wheelchair, be a lot easier for you, and
Yeah.
they acquiesced to that. I mean, they've been pretty good to you, haven't they?
I mean, could you imagine them being like, no?
That's true. No. We'd rather
Right?
you be uncomfortable.
Right. I always, I've always kind of just been is the kind of guy that sometimes I'll just suffer in silence versus like saying, this could be better. And I was like, you know what? It's for the sake of the, other people. I thought about other people, like other people that I've met that are in wheelchairs. They, you don't see as many people. Like I was not exposed to this world that I'm in until I was in it. Seeing more people in the wheelchair with spinal cord injuries, and there's a level of defeatism that people face at times, Pat, where they just don't have hope for a future that they can do normal life things, or they say one day when I'm walking again, or if I'm walking again, then I'll start living my life again. And it's like, no, life is now. And I might not always have gone and I've taken steps and taken leaps and risk, and I haven't always felt ready. But I said, a lot of times in life, the right moment doesn't happen unless you go and make it. And I want to represent people out there with whatever limitations they may face. Like, no, you can still live your life. You can still be an expert at certain things. You can still drive. Like I drive my truck. I'll be when we finish up here, I'll be driving to an appointment. So like that was a big motivating thing for me, and the SEC network. Those guys have been nothing but fantastic, and I hope to work with them for a long time. I hope to be a part of what they do, especially now that we got Oklahoma and Texas in the league.
Yeah.
So talk about a league that's done it right. Like Oklahoma and Texas are bringing great value, not only in their main sports, football and basketball, but softball is great. Volleyball is great. Tennis is great. Like they're great in everything. So it's going to be they bring great addition. It's you look at the ACC adding, no disrespect, but SMU is not a page turner for the ACC. So I understand why there's a big, ugly, nasty divorce coming up here with Florida State and Clemson potentially, man. That's going to be nasty.
It is. It's not going to be. They're going to be people standing up and screaming at each other.
Oh yeah.
Also, I want to mention that Patric also has a radio show, 11 to 1.
That's great. I sure do.
Jacksonville.
That's the Young and Norvell show. I'm trying to get as many sponsors as you got, man. Oh, dude, Adam's Ribs. It was a few weeks ago that a buddy of mine, my buddy Corey, my best friend, we were trying to find somewhere to have dinner, and we were like, oh, let's go to this spot, and just downtown Gainesville just is a disaster. And then we were like, Adam's Ribs, and we went, man. By far one of the best staples. Hey, this is free, Adams. You don't have to pay me. I'm telling, this is all for me. Absolutely love the barbecue, love the food, the brisket, the fries, the sides. Everything was fantastic. I ate way too much food, and I can't wait to come up there and do it again. And I'm glad I saw that advertisement that you're partnering with them, so I can throw that up in there for you.
Adam's a good friend. He really is, and he's been pretty amazing for our golf tournament as well.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see you, man.
I can't wait, man. That's gonna be fun. May 11th.
May 11th. Yes, we have some incredible prizes coming up. Before we let you go, it's time to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak, which is right next to Adam's Rib.
Okay.
Big Mill's Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. 3 questions for you, Patric Young. Number 1, you were disappointed in the SEC in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
As was I.
Yes. In Tennessee, they had a good run. If they anybody but Purdue, Purdue, and they make it to the Final Four, Zach Edey was, well, they didn't have there's no answer for him. 0.
The guy is amazing. I love watching him play. I just think it's fun to watch him play. And the matchup with him and Klingon was great,
Yeah.
Big man matchup.
Klingon held his own against him really well in the first half, and that was a big deciding factor in that game.
All right, number 2 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Todd Golden's going to get Florida back where they belong. Now, you can take that any way you want, but.
Well, I'm going to say maybe, because this new landscape of college sports is so difficult. And I think Florida is doing a fantastic job in trying to support them financially. And to get you have to have money to build a roster these days. And it sucks that sometimes like you don't have enough money, even though it's the right fit for a guy, the right place, the right opportunity. Like I hear that we're trying to talk to Aaron Bradshaw that's transferring out of Kentucky. I guarantee you he was making a bunch of money at Kentucky last year, and he's probably expecting the same, if not more. But like Florida would be a great fit for us. So it starts obviously with getting Walter Clayton back. I believe he's pivotal. And I mean, shooting out of everything. I don't want Coach Golden. Coach Golden cannot miss out on the overlying factor that killed this team this year. They can't defend anybody. They can't defend or stop. Yes, it's great. Score points. I love that. Get stops.
Yeah, it'd be a nice change. Yes.
So it'd be nice.
That team in 14 built it on defense, because Prather was an incredible defender. Will was a great defender. Obviously, Scotty was SEC Player of the Year because of his defense. And of course,
all you have to look at what, and it's not even about being talented. It's about understanding a scheme and everybody buying into it. Look at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They have, and you don't even have to have a guy like Zakai Ziegler, the point guard that is, he's a menace. He's a menace on defense. Like, he does make their defense even better, but it's limiting. It's the rebounding. You end every defensive possession with a defensive rebound. Colorado had so many straight line drives to the basket. That's too easy. This isn't the NBA. The NBA, you have so much spacing. You have a guy that can clog the paint. Having Micah back would have, in that game, would have made a difference. I don't know if it would have made enough difference to win because, too many gambles and too many straight line drives and easy layups. That's
the thing that drove me the craziest is how easy it was to get to the basket against them. And even though they would end up the game with like 7 block shots. Yeah, but there were also 7 layups,
Exactly. Right. You're dead on. That's
all right. Finally, number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. You could go the rest of your life and never eat hospital food again.
Maybe. And the reason I say maybe is because the hospital that I was at, I will never eat their food. Because it's the number one trauma hospital. Like, you don't have to have insurance to go to that hospital. But it had great doctors. I'm going to UF North next time, UF Shands North, because you can eat whatever. They have a great variety of menu. You can order it whenever you want. You don't have to eat when they want. At downtown, you have to get your food at a certain time, or you're not. And it's like, dang, I'm not hungry right now. I don't eat 3 meals a day with yes. So maybe that's gosh, why'd you have to bring that back up?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but hey, as you know, it's always great talking to you. You know how much I love you, and
you as well.
We will we'll see you May 11th, and thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait to hopefully run into you at a tailgate this year.
Absolutely. Patric Young joining us here on another Duly Noted podcast. We'll be back with more right after this break. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studio. And thanks again to Patrick for being on. Love that guy so much. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke three things. And of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener to this show, and you should be, you now know who we are. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, and we appreciate them so much for being a big part of what we do. We really appreciate our friends at Hesser and Kipke. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke three things. Number one, because I know Ken Hesser loves his Philadelphia teams, I'm going to mention the game last night. I mentioned that I watched it, and here's the takeaway. I mean, the 76ers rallied. You kind of knew they would, and of course, Jimmy Butler was hurt, and that didn't help them. But the point, I was watching the game because I don't watch very much NBA at all, almost none during the regular season, but I watch the playoffs. I like the playoffs. And so, like, a lot of times I go, Joel Embiid, MVP, really? And then they're chanting MVP when he's at the free throw line. But watching him play last night, I'm like, oh, yeah, now I get why he's the MVP. Guy's ridiculous. I mean, he was the whole team basically last night. But good for them, and I was actually rooting for them because I root against Miami. I don't know why. I really don't, because when they had UD, I rooted for them. That year when didn't they have two Gators on the team? Anyway, they've had a lot of Gators that have come through there. For some reason, I root against the Heat. And I can't. Some of my negative rooting makes no sense at all. None whatsoever. But I was rooting for the Sixers, and probably will be again next round too, to be honest with you. And of course, they will be playing, I guess, Saturday, right? Saturday or Sunday. I'll get to that in a moment. All right, number two on our Hesser and Kipke three things. We're staying with the Philadelphia theme today. And the news of Jason Kelsey, again, sometimes I wonder if the Kelsey brothers are just sitting there going, hey, what can we bring up this week? We're running out of things to talk about on our podcast, and nobody's playing football right now. Oh, what if I tell this story about when I lost my Super Bowl ring? So yeah, do that one. Do that, Jason Kelsey. So it may be real, it may be not real, but according to him on his podcast, he said that he lost his Super Bowl ring because they were doing this kind of a Olympics at the University of Cincinnati, where they both went to school. And of course, they played against Florida too. And that Tebow, well, I call it the Tebow Sugar Bowl, because he set every record that it would be hard to beat. But he lost his Super Bowl ring in a giant tub of chili where they were, I don't know if he was swimming in it or wrestling in it or whatever. But anyway, they lost it and they couldn't find it, and all that stuff's thrown away, so it's gone. In some trash heap somewhere. Somebody may be walking around with it on, In fact, I put Tommy Townsend's ring on, but it was from the previous Super Bowl when he was here, and I was like, man, that is so nice. And I guess I can't walk away with it. Really, what would I do with a Super Bowl ring? Go around and tell people, yeah, well, in my day when we were in the Super Bowl, no, of course, everybody would know better. Pat, did you play high school football or college football? Well, no, actually, but they drafted me as a specialty player. I was the guy who held the clipboards. Anyway, that's an interesting story, Jason Kelsey. Finally, number 3 on our process, Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And again, I know it's kind of funny, not funny, but my dad would always he would say this to you. He would say, "Hey, remember Jim Rohero?" And you knew what was coming next. Yeah, he died. And I feel like that's what I've become now. People who have passed away that are important to me, important in my life of watching sports and covering sports. And the one we got lost this week was Ronnie Montgomery. Now, Ronnie Montgomery was an unusual player. He was very good for Florida. Was part of that whole run where Florida really got good under Norm Sloan. But he's also a guy who one time walked off the court in the middle of a game. Was tired of Norm Sloan, didn't want to play for him. Got called into a meeting. I can't tell you the details of that meeting, although I know them, but I can't really tell you. They involved, sexual activities and stuff like that. But anyway, he was back playing the next game. But he did, for a long time, he had the assist record here in Florida, I think 23 years. Chris Harry did a really good story on him. And he's a guy that's a really good player, good college player, but you hate to see him go so early. I think what the story said it was complications of a stroke. So that's really sad when you see something like that. But rest in peace, Ronnie Mont, man. He was a really good player. All right, that is going to do it for our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move along to our Adams Ribco to Go Gators. Notice I say Gators of the week. And that is, they are all on the Florida swim team. And here's why. Florida just dominated the end of season awards for the SEC. Coach of the Year, men. Coach of the Year, women. Same guy, Anthony Nesty. Congratulations, Anthony. Josh Liendo, Swimmer of the Year. Of course, he was unbelievable this year. Bella Sims, Female Swimmer of the Year. Of course, she was unbelievable this year. They dominated, and they should have. They won the SEC, and they're really good. So they are our Gators of the Week, brought to you by Adams Ribco to Go. Appreciate Adam so much. Went by there the other day, picked up a bunch of gift certificates that he's given. And the guy's already cooking lunch for us, right, after the tournament. But we also got a bunch of gift certificates, and we appreciate Adam. I mean, I don't know this. I don't know that there would be a Bob Dooley without Adam, and there might not be a Bob Dooley tournament. Well, there was always a Bob Dooley, and he'll always be in my heart. But the Bob Dooley tournament without Leonardo's at Millhopper as well. And so let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Appreciate Kyle over there being a title sponsor, along with Jeff Calorio of the Bob Dooley Invitational. Anyway. So Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. He's going to give you a simple one. Bulls at Heat giving 2.5 points. Now, I would think that line has come down a little bit with the Butler injury. The Bulls are a weird team because I know Billy's doing the best. They've had so many injuries themselves, and they didn't finish above 500, so they're in this play-in situation. But I'm rooting hard for them. And it was kind of cool to see Billy telling Scotty Wilbekin on Zoom that he was going into the Hall of Fame. That was a neat moment there. two guys that love each other a lot. All right, let us get now to our this, that, and the other. It is brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, home of the Bob Dooley Invitational, by Ballyhoo Grill, where they're going to be serving up some gator tail out of the Bob Dooley, and of course, all the time there. And I think we're going to also order some wings for our Friday night party. I'm thinking about that. I'm trying to figure that one out. And also Darshackow Insurance. That's the place to go for your insurance needs. And we appreciate all our great sponsors. So this is, I'm seeing these stories about a 70-team super league, with an NIL cap and even more playoff games and a longer season. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm all for that. And then I go and I start to read it, and this is that. Who was on the committee that suggested this? Well, there's a bunch of NFL owners on it. Of course, they want it to be just like their league. Because their league works. And look, I get that. But at some point, don't we have to go, hey, what would make college football great and not stress out a lot of things? Not only the players, but the coaches and the infrastructure around any athletic association. So when the other on this, that, and the other is, let me know when you have something that is doable and people are willing to do it. Because right now, there's nobody with any power saying, yes, 70-team super league's the only way to go. There's nobody doing that. Nobody's saying that. Right now here's what we have. We have the SEC, we have the Big Ten, and then we have a bunch of little teams out there, schools out there. I'm sorry, Big 12, no. ACC, no. I mean, you're going to get left in the breeze. I'm afraid. Those two conferences are running everything, and if I was the commissioners of both leagues, I would get together and say, from now on, the two of us are deciding everything. And if you don't like it, go play in the non-competitive league. But that's my point. My point is, people can, and I talked about this on the radio Tuesday. People can come up with, and we used to get these all the time, faxes from people that had come up with a perfect playoff system. And I'm like, okay, they're not going to enforce it. They're not going to make this happen. So quit sending them to me. But I would get them all the time. And then, of course, we finally got to a playoff system. And, of course, it only took 25 years before the guy who sent me the fax and his playoff system shows up. Is exactly what they're doing. And he's like, I told you. Well, you did tell me. But actually, you faxed me. Anyway, that's something in my mouth. Okay, let's go to our swamp games of the weekend after this, that, and the other. We appreciate all of our great sponsors there. Of course, the Swamp Restaurant is a place to go to watch all these games. And they do a great job there with all the stuff. Ryan, a good man. And I'm looking forward to going and seeing him and talk about what they're doing in the tournament, which is serving margaritas on the second hole, I believe it is. Yep. All right. Let's go. Let's go with our swamp games of the weekend and go there. There's got all kinds of specials this weekend. Again, students are getting ready to leave, so this is a good time to go. It's such a great place and it's packed all the time. But now this is Gainesville at its best, is right around this time of year when the students a lot of them leave and you have still all the infrastructure of Gainesville, and it's actually a pretty nice city. Nothing against the students. My daughter's one of them. So anyway, here's our swamps games of the weekend. And let me give you baseball first. And that is the game tonight. Now, again, a lot of you already know the result of the game, but I'm just going to give you the game tonight. 7:30. Again, they're playing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 7:30. It's on the U. Okay, ESPN U. I'm sure you get that. Tomorrow, Friday, 7 p.m. ESPN 2. And then Saturday, 3 o'clock, it's on the Plus. So the good thing about playing the Thursday, Friday, Saturday is you get the first two games on basic cable. I don't know if ESPN you consider basic cable. Maybe it's not. All right, so that's the baseball schedule. I did want to throw out lacrosse. Lacrosse will be at Cincinnati. Big game for them, big match for them, you know. They've had they're 13-2 right now. So they play at Saturday at noon, and it's on the Plus if you want to watch it. If you're a lacrosse fan, you can watch it. I love when I go out there and watch it live. On TV, I'll probably turn it on at the very end just to see what's going on. But it's a big match for Florida. Let's see how they do. Gymnastics, again, you may be watching this on Friday or listening to it on Friday. So you know what happened last night, which was tonight, Thursday night. The point is Thursday night is when the gymnastics, Florida will be going the 9 o'clock session. That is on ESPN2. I will be watching it. You're darn right I will. I love my gymnast, and I love Jenny Rowland. She's great. So we'll see how they do. And then if they qualify, then it's Saturday, right? Yes, Saturday that they would go again, but we don't know all the details there, so we'll have to wait and see there. All right, softball for Florida playing South Carolina. 6 o'clock game Friday on the Plus, noon game Saturday on the SEC network, 11:30 game, and not in PM, but AM on the SEC network on Sunday. So some early games, going to be a little warm out there. It's warming up this weekend, and we'll see how that goes. And let me finally give you the NBA schedule. Friday, Chicago at Miami. We mentioned that 7 o'clock, ESPN. And then the New Orleans game is at 9:30. Sacramento, New Orleans at 9:30 on TNT. So those are those two games. And then on Saturday, you have 4 games, and Sunday you have 4 games, and they're on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN and ABC, right? And TNT. You'll figure it out. Just find the games. There's 8 games. It's almost like, it's kind of like a little bit of a March Madness. It's April Madness. So hopefully none of you get rabies. All right. That's going to do it. Again, thanks to Patric Young, and especially thanks to Zach, who's put up with me this week and we've done all kinds of things. Look, I'm not going to, you know me, I'm pretty honest about things. We taped Patric yesterday because that's the only day you could do it. But I did remember to wear the same shirt today. Yay me. But I appreciate him for doing that. And we'll be back Monday with the coach, Steve Spurrier. We'll talk to him about a lot of stuff, including, we'll get him into some little basketball talk. You know, he was a hell of a basketball player. In fact, that may have been his best sport coming out of high school. But anyway, we'll be back then. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.